Kshiti Suvarna, a 21-year-old aspiring filmmaker. Well, filmmaker, filmy. Let's just straight away cut to the chase, right? Imagine each one of you sitting here today is a film. Now, if I were to ask you, what genre of film are you? Well, I can see a drama film here. I can see an emotional one there. Oh God, I just saw a horror film too. Well, while I believe all of us are in different genres of our life right now, according to me, a single genre cannot really sum up your entire life. You require a multiple of genres to describe your life, or as we call it, make it worth. Now the question arises, what makes your life worth living? Well, just imagine yourself going to a movie theater. Now, probably you would like to watch some kind of film that's maybe suspenseful, has those twists, turns, or the kind of humor you like, right? Because all these things make the movie interesting and basically excites you. So that when you walk out of that movie theater after watching this film, you feel that the time you spent in the movie theater was worth it. And probably you can't get this movie out of your mind. You probably crack the jokes that were in the movie, or probably talk about the actors or the story of the film. Well, similarly, in life, those twists, those turns, the decisions you take, and the choices you make are all the things that make your life worth living. Well, there's this phrase actually that I really live up to in my life or follow, and it goes something like find and build the life you want to have rather than trying to escape the life you already have. Now, some of you may have understood this, but let me make it easier with an example. So, there's this recent film that I watched. It is called Tamasha. And it is such a beautiful film. And believe me, if you've not watched this film, the first thing you're going to go home and do today after listening to me is watch this film. Well, Tamasha basically stars Ranbir Kapoor in it, who is the main character of the film, and he plays the character of Ved. Well, Ved is a happy-go-lucky person. At least that's what we assume from the first half of the film. He basically is a person who lives his life to the fullest. Maybe takes decisions and really doesn't bother with what the output would be, whether it's good or bad, since he is the one who is taking the decisions. He's happy with it. He, moreover, lives his life in the present rather than focusing on the future or maybe overthinking about the past. And that's what we all want to be, right? We don't want to overthink. Well, but you are a little bit disheartened when you reach the interval, or as we call it, the intermission of the film, because we actually realize that Ved is actually just a normal person who is working in a typical 9 to 5 job environment. Now, it's fine if you love doing what you're doing. Believe me, I say this because I have actually observed a person in my life who used to work in a 9 to 5 job environment. And every time I used to look at this person, I used to wonder, oh God, he leads such a boring life, and probably he must be so disinterested with it. He has to go to the same office every day and probably do the same things, right? But until one day, I actually came to realize that this man actually loved doing what he did. He loved waking up in the morning. He loved going to the office. He loved doing the same thing every day and coming back home. And he was willing to do all these things all over again tomorrow. And that's why I say it's okay if you love doing what you're doing, right? Well, but in this case, Wade didn't like what he was doing. He was just doing it for the sake of society or because he wanted his parents to be happy. But he always thought that there is something else that his heart desired. He wanted to achieve much greater things in his life, which was probably not a 9 to 5 job. And because you're attached to this character so much by now, you feel disheartened and like a personal loss when he's working in a typical 9 to 5 job environment. And I felt bad because I started imagining myself in him actually. And I remember when the film almost reached the climax of it, that is the ending of the film, Ved was ready to stand up. He was ready to stand up against everything that came in front of his dreams. He wanted to follow it this time. He was willing to stand up against his parents, stand up against the society, and start from fresh all over again. And that's when I felt like a personal win. And that's where you feel like a personal achievement too, and you're guided to the right path. Well, this film was clearly a good example for that phrase. But obviously, now I don't expect you to just believe or follow this phrase because I told you to do so, right? Even I wouldn't. Well, the main reason I follow this phrase or believe in it was my father, actually. My father used to work in a typical 9 to 5 job environment. And similar to Ved, he did not like what he was doing. He was just doing it for the sake of family. He had to pay his bills. Well, but he always thought he wanted to achieve something better and he has some future goals. So at the peak of his career, my father decided to leave everything behind and quit everything and start from that start line again. And believe me, wherever he is today, not only are we proud of him, but moreover, he is happy and he is joyful to be around. Well, now actually, I would like to talk about a study that was carried out by the University College of London, also called as the UCL. Well, basically, it states that the films that you grow up watching, the films that you tend to really like as a kid, are the films that become your comfort movies. Now, what are comfort films? Basically, when you are in times of distress or some kind of anxiety, you would probably like watching something. And if you watch these films, they would probably feel like a warm hug to you. And who doesn't like a warm hug, right? Especially in today's times when there is so much of competition around the world. What would a person really want to do? They would probably just want to come home and relax and probably watch a light-hearted film, right? And believe me, filmmakers around the world have understood this. And it is our job to cater the audience according to their needs. Because believe me or not, we are very well aware of the fact that audience has the power to make or break a film. That's why we do our job and we know who our target audience is. Well, now moving forward, actually I want to talk about two life experiences of mine, which according to me have shaped my career, but also maybe shaped my life. So the first one actually again starts with a phrase, or as you call it, a famous dialogue from a famous film. Excellence का पीछा करो, success झक मार के तुम्हारे पीछे आएगी, which translates to chase excellence and success will chase you. Now, why I say this? So recently, I directed a short format film named Hide and Seek. And this film was probably just made because, I wanted to make an independent short film. And I remember I wanted this short format film to have a message. Well, a really strong message. And personally, I have a soft corner for, those thriller, suspense kind of films and probably even making them now. Well, there was the idea of Hide and Seek, a psychological thriller short format film with the message of schizophrenia. I remember I made this film. And looking at the output, believe me, I was very confident. And I was like, oh, I made a good film. I'm proud of myself. But I remember after everyone, close ones of mine, watched this film, they came to me and told, you know what, Kshiti? You have made a good film. You should probably consider submitting it to film festivals around the world, just to know what people really perceive of this film or what they think of this film from various people around the world, right? So I remember on that table, we decided that we would be submitting this to various film festivals around the world. And at that same moment, there was this tiny bit of self-doubt creeping inside of me. Believe me, I knew I had made a good film, but that self-doubt was there. all of a sudden. And actually, if you take any filmmaker around the world, you name any and you pick them and ask them, are you really satisfied with your output? They would obviously very surely say that, I always felt that this shot could have been taken from a better angle, or probably there is some mode of improvement. Because we have probably watched this film so many times from raw to the final output, right? So we probably only try to find some mistakes, even if it's not there, right? Well, similarly, it was in my case. But you know what? I thought, see, I'm confident about my film. And probably, you know what? I should maybe take a chance. I should see where the film goes. At least I'll get a feedback, right? If at all something goes around. Well, so I took that chance and I decided to submit film to film festivals around the world. And believe me, Hide and Seek was critically acclaimed by various film festivals around the world. And that might be the sole reason of me standing in front of you here today. Well, so my first experience tells you, take a chance. Well, my second experience actually is more about opening up to yourself. Now, why I say this? I think all of you present here will relate to me with this one. You remember when you're in 8th or 9th standard? Everyone start bombarding you with the questions of what are your plans after 10th? What are your future goals? Which stream are you going to choose? Well, similarly, the same set of questions, like no change. Well, when I received these questions, according to the standard set of the society, you had to choose a job or a stream that paid you well, that ensured that your salary was credited at the end or the start of each month in your bank account. You had that security in life. So, well, being me, I followed this rule set by the society. And I decided that I wanted to pursue aviation. Yes, I wanted to become a pilot. Well, so after 10th, I decided that I would opt for PCMC, physics, chemistry, math, computer science. So I pursued this in my first PU, or as we call it, my 11th standard. Well, but while I was pursuing this, I remember I had this red diary with me. And in this red diary, actually, I used to note down my poems, well, all my self written poems. And probably if I found that diary today, I would be really embarrassed of myself, right? I would be like, what a kid I was. But probably that was a slight bit, tiny bit of a hint that, Kshiti, you're going to change your career paths completely. That's what I feel. But then came the unfortunate times of COVID. And we were locked in those four walls. But just before, a little while before COVID, I remember I just happened to visit a film set. And believe me, on this film set, I've observed it all. I've observed the life of an actor. I used to see the actor be going to the set and doing their best and coming back and waiting in their caravans until, they were called the next time. Well, it did not really quite excite me because probably the fact that they had to put makeup for hours and sit in it, didn't find it that exciting personally. Well, but then I saw this one great man sitting behind a set of monitors around him. And he was guiding the entire set. I liked that. Believe me, I liked him. Well, there was the great Upendra sir sitting there behind the set of monitors. I'm sure you all are aware of him. And when I saw this man, I felt he knew everything on the set. He knew what he wanted from his actors. He knew how to get this out of them. He also wanted everyone on his set to be clear with the creative output he wanted from his film. And believe me, being on the stage he is today and was back then, I saw this man get up from that chair and walk up till his DOP and actually explain him when he didn't really understand why Upendra sir wanted a shot from that angle. He explained him till the time he actually understood it. Upendra sir answered n number of questions. And he was answering it very patiently, believe me. And that was the day when I got a tiny bit of interest in the field of direction. I remember coming back home and the entire first half of COVID, I remember browsing through all the behind the scenes, the BTS of my favorite films. Now, with that BTS, I don't mean those 1 minute Instagram reels. I mean that proper half an hour to 1 hour duration BTS that's available on YouTube. And that was the time when I discovered my favorite directors around the world. Well, I was slowly starting to open up about the fact that maybe I like this field and I want to see where I can go with this, right? And there was one fine day that I finally realized that, okay, Kshiti, you know what? This is what you want to do. You want to pursue the field of direction. That's what your heart desires. And I was just a student who had just completed their first PU or 11th standard, stuck between those four walls. And I had to convince my parents or confess it to them. I remember walking up to their room. And while I was walking, at the back of my head, I'm thinking, you know what? I couldn't even barge out of the house if things went down. Just to show them that I'm angry, maybe for half an hour or 1 hour. How will I show them that I am angry? I had to sit in those four walls, right? Well, anyway, I made my parents sit down and confessed it to them that, you know what, I want to become a film director, which was completely different, opposite from the field of science. And I was shocked to see that my father and my mother were ready to hold my hands and guide me through this industry all by myself. And well, the unwavering support that they gave me back then and even continue to give me right now. Well, in fact, my mom even came up with this idea or like give me a choice of, Shruti, if you wanted to opt for arts and quit science for your second PU or 12th standard, you could do so. Because, it would make things easier for you. Or probably, you have nothing to do with science anymore. Well, I like that idea, but I opted for science, obviously. But you know what the take of this is? I want to do this for them. I want to prove that the support that they gave me was right. I want to make them proud today, and that's the agenda of my life. And I just want to conclude this speech by saying that just remember, no one and no one other than you yourself can decide if your life is worth living or not. And believe me when I say this, like literally, it is never too late to change the ending of your story. Thank you. Thank you so much.